Hi, it's David, and this video is for the leader, coach, catalyst. Those people who are just driven to make a greater contribution, not just for themselves, but to benefit many people around them. And in this video, I'll share a lesson and a framework that I've found has proven useful to the many leader, coach, catalysts that I've worked with over the years. It was probably 20 years ago when I said to my one-on-one coaching client, Sam, you know, I think part of the challenge is that people see you as the Toyota Camry. Metaphorically, of course. What's a Toyota Camry? It's that car that you know is so dependable. Every time you go to start it, it's going to work. It's going to need very little maintenance, super low maintenance, and it's always going to get you to your destination. It works, it gets you there, and you can just always count on it. But what Sam was unhappy about was that other people, his peers, were getting opportunities to lead big movements in the business that he didn't get the opportunity to do, even though he knew he was capable. And so I suggested that maybe if we were to help him make one change, that could help him stand out a little bit more in a really authentic way. I wasn't suggesting he do something that or act in any way that he really wasn't. But in the process, I thought that it could help him become both more visible and also gain more respect among the key people who were overlooking him in the past. So we knew he had knowledge. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that people were choosing someone else. And I think what had happened is he was so good at building connections with people that he kind of became known as the person who was nice. And in that instance, being nice did not mean more valuable. It was the one that they didn't choose, the one that they could count on to take care of other things. Now, what I wasn't suggesting that he needed to do was to, take on some of those stereotypical approaches that generally don't work but are commonly tried, like always speaking up in every meeting, always having an opinion, never being able to say you don't know, or if nobody knew the difference, take somebody else's idea and claim it for your own. That's not what I was talking about. What I suggested to him was that there were three pathways that he could choose, and one of them he had already chosen, which was the nice path. But I introduced some other options for him that did prove useful for him and for many other people. So let me break it down for you. So of those three pathways, let me share first the most common two that people choose. First is they'll be the jerk. The jerk is that person who needs to knock you down so that your status stays below whatever theirs is. So my definition for being a jerk would be, I'll criticize you so that I can feel safe myself, and that way you don't threaten my status. And I either get some joy in seeing you get knocked down, or at least I feel relief for myself. So what many people do is they vow, I will never be the jerk. So they've had a manager who treated them poorly, like a jerk, a friend, somebody that they dated, somebody in their life showed them that behavior, and they said, I vow I will never do that. And in that overcorrection, they think they've moved miles, but when they don't really understand what's beneath it, they actually haven't moved far at all. So for a person, they become nice when they do that. And so that's what Sam had done. And my definition of being nice is telling people what will prevent them from feeling any pain or discomfort. And that's what Sam was doing in that moment. I'm guessing that you know people who fit here and that you know people who fit here. But let's talk about actually what's going on from an inner driver or from a motivation perspective, because I'd like you to see that these two are not just, Sam thought they were miles apart. They're actually not that different if you look at what's going on sort of within, the inner drivers. So let's just first take a look at the jerk. We've got 5 different categories here to evaluate them all inner drivers. First, the jerk. What's the jerk? What's the goal for the other person if I'm being a jerk or an ass or a bully? My goal, because I feel I'm probably insecure myself, and so if this is my status, if anybody starts to get close to me, I do not like that. So I got to find a way to have you feel knocked down so that then I can feel safe. So my goal for the other person is I want that other person to feel diminished. How about for the goal for the self? If I'm a jerk, my goal for myself is I want to feel better some way. Either I get some joy out of seeing you hurt, or at the very least, I feel relief because now I've got that safe distance. You've been knocked back down again. Who am I taking care of? If I'm the jerk, of course, I'm taking care of me, at least in the short term. ST stands for short term. What's my belief about this other person? If I'm the jerk, it's that they're weak, right? Because they're the ones I'm going to pick on. They're the ones that I'm going to knock down because I feel like I'm going to be capable of doing that. They won't push back. So that's my opinion about those, about the other person, or my belief about the other person. And then the prevailing emotion, if I'm the jerk, is actually fear. Because there's nothing that threatens me more in that you could catch up to my status and become my equal. And if I'm insecure, that's a real threat. So I'm driven by fear. So now let's talk about what's the inner driver for the person who's being nice. If I'm being nice, my goal for the other person is I want them to feel good. I want them to be comfortable because if I'm nice, there's nothing that makes me more uncomfortable than someone else's discomfort. Well, maybe my discomfort would be number one, but close behind it is making someone else or believing someone else feels uncomfortable because of something I did or said. My goal for myself when I'm being nice is I want to feel better. I don't like it when you're uncomfortable, and that makes me feel better, so I'm just going to be nice. My goal or who am I taking care of? You know, I may think I'm taking care of the other person, but I'm taking care of myself. I'm just keeping myself comfortable. In the short term, at least, that's who I'm taking care of. My belief about the other person is that they're weak. That's why they can't, I can't cause them to feel uncomfortable. They couldn't handle it. And then what's my prevailing emotion? It's fear. Either fear of them not liking me, fear of hurting someone, fear that they'll feel hurt, and I'd feel badly about that, but it's basically driven by fear. So here Sam thought from not being a jerk and being the nice person, he was miles apart from all those other people. But really the only difference from an inner driver was these two at the very top. Everything else in being a jerk and being nice is identical. But there's another option, and that's what I'd like to share with you now. So the third path is the most honest and authentic, and it can also be the most difficult of all, especially if you're not great with feeling uncomfortable or seeing others feeling uncomfortable, especially if you associate feeling uncomfortable is, uh-oh, this is a bad thing. But I find it's also the most powerful for the leader coach catalyst, and one that I would hope I and you spend most of our time doing. And that is the one that I call being kind. And I didn't invent that word, so let me just give you my definition of being kind. Being kind is sharing whatever will support the other person from reaching their best or achieving their full potential, playing at full power, even if that means that you'll feel uncomfortable or they'll feel uncomfortable in the process with the conversation that's taking place, because maybe they didn't want to hear it, or maybe you were uncomfortable with them getting down on themselves or whatever. But you do it anyway. And let's just talk about what are those inner drivers for the person who chooses the kind path in contrast to the others. The goal for the other, we know that the jerk wanted them to feel diminished, the nice person wanted them to feel good. When you're committed to the kind path, it's just about helping them be better. You see more potential, more capabilities in them, and you say what you have to say with respect to help them be better. What's the goal for the self? We know that the jerk wants to feel better, the nice person who's nice wants to feel better. The goal for the person who's kind is, I'm here to serve. I want the best for you, and I'm here to be of service. When I'm on who am I taking care of? If I'm on the jerk path, I'm taking care of myself. Same thing on the nice path. If I'm on the kind path, I'm actually here to take care of you, at least in the long term. And in the long term, being honest will take care of myself also. What's my belief about the other? That they're weak. If I'm a jerk, if I'm nice, I believe they're also weak. If I'm on the kindness path, I believe you're strong and capable. So I'm going to tell you what's going to help you the most because I know you're strong enough and capable enough not only to take it in, but to do something with it. And then the last one, what's my prevailing emotion? If I'm being the jerk, I'm afraid. If I'm being nice, I'm afraid. If I'm kind, I'm feeling courage. I'm driven by courage. And to be really clear, courage doesn't mean I don't have any fear. It means it's one of the few emotions, courage, love, are among the few emotions that can actually overpower fear, that are actually stronger than fear. So the person who's being kind is driven by courage. Even if I know this is going to be a difficult conversation for one or both of us, I'll say it or I'll have it with you anyway. So, the question then becomes, which of these do you want to be? And right now, which of these do you think you're spending the most time in? And with that, I'd like to answer just a couple of questions I anticipate you might ask based on my previous conversations sharing this with other people. The first is, what will it take for me? This seems like something I'd like to do more of, but what do I have to do to get there? So there are 4 things I would say that you just need to understand. The first is that you need to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You need to feel comfortable with your own discomfort. That's required. That's essential, level 1. Level 2 is that you also need to be comfortable with other people's discomfort, because what you're saying may not be landing well, or it may not be what they hoped to hear, but if it's valuable to them, it's probably what they need to hear. Now, keep in mind that being kind does not mean you have to be mean about it. You still want to be honest and authentic. And also understand that there needs to be some trust and openness from the person you're speaking to or from the group of people that you're speaking to for this to really be valuable. And if there isn't trust and openness on their part to hear what you have to say, then probably the first move you'd want to make is to get them to that place where they are open. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your time and probably doing some damage between the two of you. The third is that getting better means learning. If we're wanting to help people be better, it means learning. Well, learning is change, and change is uncomfortable. So we're right back to that discomfort. But just understand that number 4 is that the goal is not to make somebody feel uncomfortable. Learning is the goal. But in the process of learning, think of your own experience, a lot of times, especially as you're learning something that's a stretch for you, it's uncomfortable. So with that, I'd ask you to consider, where is an opportunity right now for you to be a better version of your leader, coach, catalyst? And then if that's the case, is this a place where kindness would be what serves everybody the best? I know it worked for Sam. And the last thing I'd like to ask is for your feedback on this video. How did it land with you? Does this make sense? Can you see how you could use it? Are you already using it? What questions do you have for me? And how does just this format of the video work for you? The more I can learn from you about how this helps you, the more I can make future videos that I'll share more valuable to you. So I can't wait to hear. And also, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks.